My name is Emma, and if you're listening to me right now, I want you to know that this is not just a story. This is my heart, torn into pieces, bleeding through words. Sometimes I wonder why life gives us so many moments to smile, only to snatch them away and leave us crying in silence. I was never the kind of girl who dreamed of castles or riches. I only dreamed of love, warmth, and a place where I could belong forever. But maybe forever is just a lie we tell ourselves when we are scared of losing what we love the most. When I was a little girl, I believed that my world was perfect. My mother, Sarah, was the center of my universe. She wasn't just my mother, she was my best friend, my protector, and the person who wiped my tears even before they could fall. My father left us when I was very young. I barely even remember his face. All I know is that he walked out one day, leaving my mother holding me in her arms, crying silently while I tugged at her clothes, asking, "Mama, where did Daddy go?" She never answered. She only kissed my forehead and said, "It's just you and me now, Emma, and that's enough." I didn't know back then how heavy those words were. I didn't know how much pain she was carrying in her chest, smiling every day so I wouldn't feel the emptiness. We lived in a small house with old furniture and cracked walls, but my mother made it feel like a palace. She worked day and night just so I could eat, study, and live a life better than hers. I still remember those nights when she would come home late, her hands trembling from exhaustion. But the moment she saw me awake, she would smile and say, "Emma, did you eat? Did you finish your homework?" And then she would sit by my side, even if her body was screaming for rest. I would sometimes pretend to sleep, just to watch her quietly fixing my blanket, kissing my forehead and whispering, "I love you, my little girl. You're my whole world." As I grew older, I began to see the sacrifices she made. Other kids at school had new clothes, fancy lunches, and gifts on their birthdays. I didn't. But my mother always made sure that I never felt less. On my birthdays, she would bake a small cake with whatever she could afford, sometimes even borrowing sugar from the neighbor. But to me, that cake tasted better than any sweet in the world, because it was baked with love, with tears she never showed, and with the strength of a mother who refused to give up. There was one night I can never forget. I must have been 10 years old. The rain was pouring heavily and the roof was leaking. I woke up to see my mother placing bowls and pots everywhere to catch the water dripping from the ceiling. Her clothes were soaked, her hair sticking to her face, but when she saw me awake, she smiled and said, "Go back to sleep, Emma. Don't worry. I'll take care of it." I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, why does my mother have to fight every battle alone? Years passed. I grew into a teenager, and like every young girl, I had dreams. I wanted to study, to become someone important, someone who could make my mother proud. But deep down, I also wanted love. The kind of love that wouldn't walk away. The kind that would stay no matter how hard life became. When I was 16, I met someone. His name was Adam. He wasn't like the other boys at school. He was kind, gentle, And he had this way of looking at me as if I was the only person in the world. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could have a different story than my mother's. I remember the first time Adam held my hand. My heart raced so fast I thought it would burst. He whispered, "Emma, you're not like anyone else. You're special." I laughed nervously, but inside, I was falling deep into a place I didn't know could hurt so much later. Of course, my mother noticed. She always noticed everything about me. One night, she sat beside me and asked softly, "Emma, who's making you smile these days?" I blushed and said, "No one, Mama." But she touched my cheek and whispered, "I was once a girl too, Emma. Don't hide your heart from me." I wanted to tell her everything, but something inside me was scared. What if she thought I was too young? What if she didn't approve? So I just hugged her tightly and said, "I love you, Mama. You're all I need." And she smiled, but in her eyes I saw a shadow, a fear that maybe I would one day love someone else more than her. Little did I know, life was already preparing to test me in ways I couldn't imagine. Adam became my world. He would walk me home, carry my books, and make me laugh when days felt heavy. I started to dream of a future with him. I imagined telling my mother one day that I had found someone who would never abandon me like my father abandoned her. But dreams are dangerous. They paint beautiful skies only to let storms destroy them. One evening, Adam promised to meet me at the park. I waited for hours, but he never came. My phone stayed silent. My heart sank with every passing minute. I walked home, trying to convince myself that something urgent must have come up. But that night, I cried into my pillow, my chest aching with a pain I didn't understand. The next day, he finally showed up. He looked different, distant. When I asked what happened, he just said, "Emma, maybe we shouldn't see each other anymore." Those words, they shattered me. I begged him, tears streaming down my face. "Why, Adam, what did I do wrong?" He didn't answer. He just walked away, just like my father once did. I ran home, my legs trembling, my eyes swollen. My mother saw me, and without asking a single question, she held me in her arms. I broke down completely, crying so hard I could barely breathe. And all she said was, "I'm here, Emma. I won't ever leave you." That night, I realized something. Love can heal you, but it can also break you into pieces. And sometimes the only person who picks up those pieces is the one who has been there all along. Your mother. But this was only the beginning of my story, because life wasn't done with me yet. It had much more to take away, much more to break. After Adam left, my world felt empty. Days turned into nights, nights into endless silence, and my heart kept asking the same question again and again. Why wasn't I enough? I stopped smiling. I stopped laughing. Even at school, teachers noticed that Emma, The girl who once answered every question with a bright smile now sat quietly, staring out of the window. My friends tried to cheer me up, but I just couldn't pretend anymore. Something inside me had broken, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't fix it. But there was one person who never let me drown completely. My mother, Sarah. Every time she saw me lost, she would hold my hand and whisper, "Emma, life will hurt you, but I'm here. Don't let the pain steal who you are." Sometimes at night, I would hear her crying softly in the kitchen, thinking I was asleep. She thought I couldn't hear, but a daughter always feels her mother's tears. She wasn't just crying for me. She was crying for all the battles she had fought alone, all the heartbreaks she had hidden, and all the fears that I would repeat her story. Weeks passed. Adam was gone, but the memory of him stayed. His laughter, his promises, his words, they haunted me everywhere. Even when I closed my eyes, I could still hear him saying, "You're special, Emma." But if I was so special, why did he leave? One rainy afternoon, as I sat by the window, watching the water drops race down the glass, my mother came and placed a cup of tea beside me. She sat quietly, not asking anything. After a long silence, she said, "Emma, do you know why rain makes me sad?" I looked at her and shook my head. She smiled faintly. "Because rain reminds me of the day your father left. It was raining heavily. I begged him not to go, but he walked away. Every drop of rain felt like a goodbye I wasn't ready for. Since then, whenever it rains, I feel that same ache in my heart." Tears welled up in my eyes. I whispered, "Mama, will everyone I love leave me too?" She immediately pulled me into her arms and said, "No, Emma, I will never leave you. People may come and go, but my love for you is forever." I held her tightly, and in that moment I realized something. Love from the world may break us, but a mother's love is the only thing strong enough to glue those broken pieces back together. But life wasn't done testing us. Months later, my mother started feeling weak. At first, she hid it from me. She would smile and say, "I'm just tired, Emma. Don't worry." But I noticed she wasn't eating properly. She was coughing late at night when she thought I was asleep, and her hands trembled when she tried to cook. One evening, I walked into her room and found her sitting on the floor, holding her chest, struggling to breathe. My heart stopped. I rushed to her and screamed, "Mama, please hold on." We rushed to the hospital. I sat in the waiting room, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. I prayed harder than I ever had in my life. I told God, "Take everything from me, but don't take her. Please, not her." When the doctor came out, his face was serious. He said, "Your mother has a heart condition. It's been there for a while, but she ignored the symptoms. We need to start treatment immediately." I felt like the ground slipped beneath my feet. My mother, my whole world, was slipping away and I didn't even know. When I went inside to see her, she was lying on the hospital bed, pale and fragile. But the moment she saw me, she smiled. "Emma, don't cry, my love. I'm fine, just a little tired." I broke down. I held her hand tightly and whispered, "Mama, why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide this from me?" She stroked my hair gently. "Because I didn't want you to worry. You're young, Emma. You have your whole life ahead of you. I didn't want my pain to steal your smile." But my smile was already gone. From that day forward, everything changed. I started working after school to help with hospital bills. I gave up on friends, on fun, on everything that once mattered to me. My only focus was saving my mother. But no matter how hard I tried, the days grew darker. The doctor said her condition was getting worse. There was one night I will never forget. She called me to her side, her voice weak, her hands trembling. She said, "Emma, promise me something." I wiped my tears and said, "Anything, Mama." She smiled softly. "Promise me that no matter what happens, you will keep living. You will chase your dreams. Don't let life break you. Don't let my story become yours." I cried uncontrollably and said, "No, Mama. Don't talk like that. You're not going anywhere. I need you." She held my face between her fragile hands and whispered, "You already have me, Emma. In your heart forever." I laid beside her, holding her hand, praying that time would stop. But time is cruel. It doesn't listen to our prayers. Nights became longer after that hospital visit. Every beep of the machine near my mother's bed was a reminder that time was slipping away. I would sit there, holding her hand, afraid that if I let go even for a second, she might leave me. Sometimes in the silence of the hospital room, I would whisper, "Mama, do you remember when I was little and used to be afraid of the dark?" You would hold my hand and tell me that no darkness can last forever. She would smile weakly and reply, "And I was right, Emma. Even the darkest nights give birth to mornings." But this time, it felt like my night would never end. One morning, I went to school after days of staying by her side. She had insisted, "Emma, you need to live your life. You can't sit here all day worrying about me." Reluctantly, I left her in the care of the nurses and promised to return quickly. But when I came back that afternoon, something was different. The room was too quiet. My mother looked even weaker. Her lips trembled as she spoke. "Emma, come here." I rushed to her, my heart pounding. She held a small envelope in her hand. Her fingers shook as she gave it to me. "This is for you, my love. Don't open it now. Open it only when you feel you can't go on anymore. When you feel lost. This letter will guide you." Tears filled my eyes. "Mama, I don't need a letter. I need you." She smiled faintly, brushing my hair back. "And you'll always have me, Emma." Even when you can't see me, I'll be right here. She pressed her hand to my chest over my heart. Every heartbeat of yours carries a piece of me. Days turned into weeks. Despite all efforts, her condition worsened. There was one night, the night that broke me completely. The machines beeped louder, nurses rushed in, doctors shouted instructions. I stood frozen, my body trembling. I screamed, "Save her! Please save my mother!" But in the chaos, I saw her eyes. Calm, peaceful. She looked at me one last time and whispered, "I love you, Emma. Live." And then, silence. The machine stopped. The world stopped. My world stopped. I collapsed on the floor, my cries filling the sterile hospital room. I begged her to wake up. I begged God to give her back. I begged life to undo what had just happened. But nothing changed. She was gone. My mother, my anchor, my reason to breathe was gone. The days after her death were unbearable. I walked through the house like a ghost. Every corner held her scent. Every object whispered her presence. Her favorite cup still sat in the kitchen. Her scarf still hung by the door. Her laughter still echoed in the walls of my memory. But she wasn't there. One evening, as I sat on the floor of her room, surrounded by her clothes, I found the envelope she had given me. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in her delicate handwriting. My tears blurred the words as I read. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means I am no longer by your side. But don't think for a moment that I've left you. My love lives inside you. Every time you smile, I smile with you. Every time you cry, I am the hand that wipes your tears. Life will hurt you, my daughter. It will break your heart. It will test your soul. But you must never give up. You are stronger than you think. Promise me that you will not let grief steal your light. Chase your dreams, Emma. Love fearlessly. Live bravely. And whenever you feel alone, just place your hand on your heart. I'll be right there. Always. With endless love, Mama." By the time I finished reading, my tears had soaked the paper. I held it to my chest and sobbed until I couldn't breathe. But somewhere deep inside, I felt her presence. She wasn't gone. She was with me, just in a different way. From that day, I decided to live the way she wanted me to. I worked harder in school. I smiled even when it hurt. I chased my dreams not because the pain was gone, but because I wanted to honor her. But some nights when the world was quiet, I would still cry myself to sleep, whispering, "I miss you, Mama. I hope I'm making you proud." And in the silence, I could almost hear her voice replying, "Always, Emma, always." After my mother's death, life felt like an endless storm. The world outside continued as if nothing had happened, but inside me, everything was shattered. People smiled, laughed, and carried on with their lives, while I walked around with a broken heart. At school, my friends tried to comfort me, but they didn't understand. How could they? They still had their mothers waiting for them at home. They still had someone to hug them when the world felt heavy. I didn't. One afternoon, my teacher called me aside. She said softly, "Emma, I know this is hard, but I also know your mother would want you to keep going." Her words made me think of the letter again. Every word my mother had written was like a seed planted in my heart. But seeds don't grow without care. I realized I had to water them with my own courage. Nights were the hardest. The silence of my room made the emptiness louder. I often clutched my mother's scarf and cried until sleep finally came. Sometimes I dreamed of her. Dreams so real that when I woke up, I felt like she had just been there, touching my hair, whispering comfort. But then reality hit, and the ache returned. One particular night, I sat by my window, staring at the stars. I whispered, "Mama, are you there? Can you hear me?" And though there was no reply, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if she was answering in her own way. Slowly, I began to write letters to her. Every night, I would pour my heart onto paper. "Dear Mama, today was hard. I missed you when I saw other girls hugging their mothers. But then I remembered your words and I tried to smile. Are you proud of me?" Writing became my therapy. Each letter I wrote felt like a conversation with her. I kept them all in a little box, which I called the box of love. As months passed, I realized that grief is not something you overcome. It's something you carry. It becomes a part of you, like a scar that never fades. Some days it hurts less. Some days it burns like fire. But through it all, I held on to her letter. I carried it in my school bag. I placed it under my pillow. I even read it to myself when life felt unbearable. Those words were my anchor. Then came the day of my graduation. Everyone else had their parents cheering for them, taking pictures, hugging them with pride. I stood there, diploma in hand, tears in my eyes. I whispered to myself, "This is for you, Mama. You told me to live, and I'm trying." I could almost feel her arms around me, as if she was saying, "I'm here, Emma. I've never left." But life had more tests for me. One evening when I returned home, I found another envelope hidden inside my mother's old jewelry box. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a second letter. "My precious Emma, if you are reading this, it means you are growing into the woman I always dreamed you'd be. I want you to know something important. Pain will try to steal your joy, but don't let it. Love is stronger than pain. Hope is stronger than fear. I may not be there to hold your hand, but I am with you in every step you take. You are my heart walking outside my body, and wherever you go, I go with you. Don't ever be afraid to love again, to trust again, to live again. My biggest wish is to see you happy. Promise me that you will choose life, even when it hurts." I cried endlessly that night, clutching the letter. But in those words, I felt a new strength awaken inside me. From that moment, I made a promise to her. I would live fully, not just survive. I would carry her love into everything I did. I would turn my pain into power, my grief into growth. And even though my heart was broken, I began to see that broken hearts can still beat, and broken people can still love. After reading my mother's second letter, something inside me changed. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I wasn't just surviving. I was slowly learning to live again. I carried her words like a flame in my heart. Whenever the darkness of grief tried to swallow me, I held on to that flame. Don't be afraid to love again, to trust again, to live again. Those words echoed in my soul every single day. At school, I started joining activities I used to avoid. I volunteered at the library, I signed up for art classes, and even tried public speaking. Every step I took, I imagined my mother smiling, whispering, "That's my Emma." But it wasn't easy. Some days, the sadness felt unbearable. I would sit in a crowded room and still feel completely alone. I would laugh with friends, but secretly wish my mother was there to see it. Grief is strange. It doesn't ask permission. It comes and goes like waves, sometimes crashing so hard you can't breathe. But with each wave, I was learning how to stand a little stronger. One day, I met a boy named Daniel. He wasn't like others. He had gentle eyes that carried their own pain. He once told me his father had left when he was very young, and his mother had raised him alone. There was a silent understanding between us. We didn't need to explain our wounds. We recognized them in each other. Our friendship grew slowly. He never pushed me to talk, but when I wanted to share, he listened as if every word mattered. One afternoon, as we sat under a tree, I finally told him about my mother's letters. I expected him to just nod politely, but instead he said softly, "Emma, do you realize how lucky you are? Not everyone gets words of love to hold on to forever. Your mother gave you a gift most people never receive." I looked at him, tears in my eyes, and whispered, "I know." But sometimes her words hurt too, because they remind me of what I've lost. He smiled gently. Or maybe they remind you of what you still have. Her love. That kind of love doesn't die, Emma. It lives inside you. His words stayed with me. As time passed, Daniel became a part of my healing. But deep inside, I was still afraid. Afraid to let someone too close. Afraid of losing again. Afraid of trusting life. One evening, I opened my mother's letter again. My eyes landed on the words, "Don't ever be afraid to love again." It was as if she knew this moment would come. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Okay, Mama, I hear you." From that night, I allowed myself to open my heart, little by little. I let Daniel's friendship turn into something more, something beautiful. But even in those moments of joy, I never forgot my mother. She was a shadow that followed me, a voice that guided me, a love that held me. Years passed and life carried me forward. I finished school, I went to college, and Daniel was always by my side. He became my safe place, the one who reminded me that broken hearts can still love. On the day of my college graduation, I held my diploma and whispered again, "This is for you, Mama." I imagined her clapping, her eyes shining with pride. But the story didn't end there. One night, while cleaning my room, I found a small envelope I had never noticed before, tucked inside the old jewelry box. My hand shook as I opened it. It was my mother's handwriting again. "My sweet Emma, if you ever fall in love, don't run from it. Love is the only thing that can heal what life breaks. Let your heart trust again. Let yourself feel again. And when you find someone who cherishes you, don't push them away. I want you to have the happiness I couldn't give you in this world. Promise me this, Emma. When you build your own family, fill it with laughter, kindness, and hope. That way, my love will live through you forever." I cried until my pillow was soaked. That night, I made another promise, to carry her love not just in memory, but in the life I was going to build. When I read that last hidden letter from Mama, something inside me shifted forever. For the first time, I understood what she had been trying to prepare me for. Her words weren't just a reminder of her love. They were instructions for my future. She wanted me to carry her spirit forward, to build a life where her love never died. I closed my eyes that night, pressing the letter against my chest, and whispered, "Mama, I promise. I will live the life you wanted for me. I will love, I will build, and I will carry you with me." Months passed, and Daniel and I grew closer. He wasn't just my friend anymore. He was my safe place, my comfort, my home. He saw my pain but never tried to erase it. Instead, he stood beside me in it. He never made me feel broken. He reminded me I was strong. One evening, under a sky filled with stars, Daniel held my hand and said softly, "Emma, I know your heart carries scars, but I also know your love is deeper because of them. I don't want to replace your mother. I just want to walk this journey with you." Tears filled my eyes. For the first time, I allowed myself to say the words, "Daniel, I love you." And in that moment, I felt Mama smiling somewhere above us. Time moved forward like a river, carrying me into a new chapter. Daniel proposed to me on my 23rd birthday. He knelt down, his hands shaking, and whispered, "Emma, you're my heart. Will you spend forever with me?" I cried, not just because of him, but because I could almost hear Mama's voice saying, "Don't be afraid to love again." I said yes. The wedding was small but beautiful. As I walked down the aisle, I held a small locket with Mama's picture inside. I wanted her to be with me, to see me step into the future she had dreamed for me. Every step I took, I whispered inside, "This is for you, Mama. You're still here with me." When Daniel slipped the ring on my finger, I silently prayed, "Mama, thank you for teaching me how to love even after loss." Marriage brought new lessons, laughter, challenges, and learning to share life with someone else. But in every moment, Mama's letters guided me. Whenever Daniel and I faced difficulties, I remembered her words about kindness and forgiveness. Whenever joy filled our home, I whispered her name, knowing she would have been proud. 2 years later, I held my first child in my arms, a little boy with the same brown eyes as Mama. When I looked at him, tears spilled down my cheeks. I whispered, "Mama." I named him Noah. He will know you. He will know your love. That night, as I rocked him to sleep, I told him, "Your grandmother loved you before you were even born. She's the reason I know how to love you. And one day, you will read her letters too." As Noah grew, I kept Mama alive in our home. I told him bedtime stories about her, stories of her kindness, her laughter, her sacrifices. When he asked me, "Mama, where is Grandma now?" I smiled softly and said, "She's in heaven, baby. But she lives here too, in your heart, in my heart, in everything we do." And when he looked up at the stars, I whispered, "One of those stars is your grandma, watching over you." Life continued, but grief never truly left. It changed form. Sometimes when Noah laughed, I felt joy mixed with sorrow, wishing Mama could hear it. Sometimes when I faced struggles, I longed for her advice. But every time I returned to her letters, they were my compass, my anchor, my reminder that love never dies. One evening, when Noah was about 7, he came running to me holding one of Mama's letters. "Mama, did Grandma really write this for you?" he asked, his little eyes wide. "Yes, sweetheart," I said, kneeling beside him. "She wrote it for me, but also for you. She wanted her love to reach you too." "Can you read it to me?" he asked. So I did. My voice trembled as I read Mama's words aloud. But this time, they didn't just heal me. They planted seeds of love in my son's heart, too. When I finished, Noah hugged me tightly and whispered, "I love Grandma, even if I never met her." And I knew then, Mama's wish had come true. Her love was alive, living through me, living through him. Years passed, and I watched Noah grow into a kind, gentle soul. Every milestone, his first steps, his first words, his first day of school, I carried Mama with me, whispering, "This is for you." And whenever life grew hard, I held on to her last promise, that love never dies. Noah was no longer the little boy who once clung to my hand at night, asking about the stars. He was a young man now, taller than me, with strength in his shoulders and kindness in his heart. Sometimes when I looked at him, I saw Mama's eyes staring back at me. The same warmth, the same depth, the same ability to carry love, even in silence. It had been years since Mama left me her letters, but one still remained, the last one I had kept hidden, waiting for the right moment. And now, as Noah prepared to leave for college, I knew the time had come. That night, I called him into my room. The old wooden box sat on my lap, the same one Mama had once left for me. "Noah," I said softly, my voice trembling. "There's something I've kept for you. Something from your grandmother." His eyes widened, curiosity flickering across his face. "From Grandma Sarah." I nodded, opening the box slowly. Inside was an envelope, fragile with time, but still carrying the weight of her love. "This," I whispered, handing it to him, "is her last letter. She wrote it not just for me, but for you." Noah held it carefully, as though it were treasure. His fingers trembled as he opened it, and together we sat on the bed while I read it aloud. The letter. "My dearest Emma, and my precious grandchild Noah. If you are reading this, it means many years have passed since I left this world. But I want you both to know that love is stronger than time. It flows like blood through your veins, like light through your soul. Even death cannot end it. Emma, if you are holding this, I know you kept my love alive. You carried me with you through your laughter and your tears. And Noah, though I never held you in my arms, I held you in my prayers every single night before I left. I knew one day you would come into this world carrying the best parts of your mother with you. Life will not always be easy. There will be days when you feel lost, when you feel broken, when you wonder if love is even worth it. But in those moments, remember this: love is never wasted. Every tear you shed for love waters the seeds of something eternal. Noah, be kind to your mother. She has carried both her pain and her joy to raise you. She has been my hands, my voice, my love, when I could no longer be there. Honor her, protect her, and never forget that her heart beats with my love too. And Emma, my sweet daughter, thank you. Thank you for being brave, for choosing life even when grief tried to break you. Thank you for carrying me into your son's heart. You gave me eternity. Noah, my grandson, live fully, love deeply. And when you look at the stars, know that one of them is me, watching, smiling, loving you both. Forever yours, Mama. By the time I finished reading, tears blurred my eyes. Noah's shoulders shook as he cried silently beside me. "Mama," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I feel like I know her, even though I never met her." I hugged him tightly, pressing his head against my chest. "You do know her, Noah. Every story I told you, every bedtime prayer, every act of love, that was her. She has always been with you." That night, Noah placed the letter under his pillow, just as I once had with Mama's first letter. And as I stood in the doorway, watching him fall asleep, I whispered into the silence, "Mama, your love has reached him. You live on through him now." The next morning, before Noah left for college, he hugged me longer than ever before. "Mom," he said softly, "I'll make you proud. I'll make Grandma proud too." I smiled through my tears, brushing his hair like I used to when he was little. "You already have, Noah, just by being you." As he walked away, suitcase in hand, I looked up at the sky and whispered, "Mama, our story continues. Your love lives on. Always." My name is Emma. I don't know how many more days I have left in this world, but I do know that every heartbeat I feel now is a borrowed gift. Life has taken me on a long, painful, and yet strangely beautiful journey. I have been a daughter. I have been a young woman who dreamed of love. I have been a broken wife. And most importantly, I have been a mother. My son Noah is no longer the little boy who used to run into my arms with his tiny hands. He is no longer the child who cried at night because he was afraid of the dark. He is a grown man now. Tall, strong, with the same eyes that once looked up at me with innocence. Yet every time I see him, I still see my little boy. I see the baby I once held against my chest when the world turned its back on me. Noah has always been my reason to breathe, my reason to survive, and my reason to keep fighting when everything inside me was breaking. But now, as I sit here on this cold hospital bed, my body weak and fragile, I know the hardest chapter of my life has come. The chapter where I must prepare to let him go. The machines around me beep slowly, keeping track of my heartbeat, as if they are counting down the moments I have left. Noah sits beside me, his head bowed, his hand tightly holding mine. He doesn't want me to see his tears, but I feel them. His palm is wet, trembling, and his silence screams louder than any cry could. "Noah," I whisper, my voice barely strong enough to reach him. He looks at me quickly, forcing a weak smile, the same smile he always gives me when he wants to hide his pain. "Yes, Mom. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere," he says. I nod slowly. "I know you're here, sweetheart. You've always been here. From the moment you were born, you have never left me. Not in my heart, not in my soul. And even when I leave this world, I want you to know that I will still be here, inside you." Noah shakes his head violently. "Don't say that. Please, Mom. You're not going anywhere. You'll be fine. The doctors will help you. I still need you." Tears slip down my cheeks. How do I tell him that a mother's love has no medicine, no cure, no time limit? How do I tell him that the body may die, but the love I carry will never end? I pull his hand closer to my chest, pressing it against my weak heartbeat. "Noah, listen to me. I have fought for you all my life. Every scar, every pain, every night I cried, it was all worth it because I had you. You gave meaning to my suffering. You gave purpose to my existence, and now, my son, I need you to fight. Not for me, for yourself, for the life that still waits for you. I remember the nights when I worked until my hands bled just to buy him school books. I remember skipping meals so that he could eat. I remember standing outside in the rain, begging for help, just to give him a safe roof over his head. And I remember how he used to wipe my tears with his little hands and say, "Don't cry, Mom. I'll grow up soon and take care of you." And now, here he is, grown, caring for me, sitting by my side, refusing to let go of my hand as if holding it could stop time. But time doesn't stop. Love doesn't stop either. But bodies do. "Noah," I whisper again, "do you remember when you were little and you asked me why I never gave up? You asked me why I kept smiling, even when life was cruel?" He nods, tears streaming down his face. "Yes, Mom, you told me it was because of me." I smile weakly. "Yes. And now I want you to never give up because of me. I want you to live the life I always dreamed for you. I want you to love, to build, to create, to fight, and to never let anyone tell you that you're not enough. Because you are. You are everything, Noah. You are my heart outside my body." The nurses come in quietly, checking the machines, adjusting the tubes, pretending not to see the storm of emotions between us. They've seen this before. Mothers and sons holding on to moments that slip through their fingers like sand. But for me, this isn't just another story. This is my whole life. This is my last chapter. When they leave, Noah leans closer. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Yes, my love." "Are you scared?" His voice cracks like a child again. I close my eyes. Am I scared? The truth is, I'm not scared of death. I'm scared of leaving him. I'm scared of not being here when he needs me. I'm not scared for myself, I whisper. I'm only scared for you. But I know you're stronger than you think. I know you'll survive this pain, even if you don't believe it now. Because you are my son. And in your veins runs the strength of every sacrifice I ever made. He lays his head on my chest, just like he used to when he was a boy. And for a moment, I forget the machines, the tubes, the weakness. For a moment, I am just a mother holding her son again, like nothing has changed. Hours pass like minutes. The night grows deeper. The world outside the hospital window is silent, as if the universe itself is waiting for me to say goodbye. I gather all the strength left in my lungs and whisper, "Noah, promise me something." "Anything, Mom." "Promise me you will not let grief chain you. Promise me you will live. You will laugh. You will love. You will raise your children with the same love I gave you. And when you think of me, don't cry for too long. Smile, because I will be smiling at you from somewhere beyond. He sobs uncontrollably, shaking his head, but finally he says, I promise, Mom. I promise. And with those words, my heart finds peace. The next morning, as the first rays of sun touch my face through the hospital window, I know it's time. My breaths are shallow, my body weaker than ever, but my soul feels lighter. Noah is still holding my hand, his head resting beside me, asleep from exhaustion. I look at him one last time, memorizing every detail of his face, his eyes, his lips, his hair. He is my masterpiece. He is my proof that love can survive pain. With my final breath, I whisper softly, I love you, Noah, forever. And then, silence. Noah wakes up minutes later, realizing my hand has grown still. He shakes me, calls my name again and again, his cries echoing through the sterile hospital walls. But my soul is free now. My journey is complete. Yet even in his grief, he will remember my words. He will remember that love never dies, that a mother's heart keeps beating inside her child even when her own has stopped. And so my story doesn't end here. It continues in him. In every step he takes, in every breath he breathes, in every dream he dares to chase. Because I am Emma. I was a mother, and my son Noah was, is, and will always be my reason to live, even beyond death.